Good morning all of you. This is 11th class biology, lecture 6 of chapter 3, plant kingdom. And today you will learn about the angiosperms, their general features, reproduction and life cycle. So let's start with the general features of angiosperm. In the angiosperms or flowering plants, angiosperms are called flowering plants because angiosperms are the plants in which flowers are present. Okay, so we can see in the angiosperms, the pollen grains and ovules are developed in a specialized structure that is called flower. Okay, so within the flowers, ovules and pollen grains are produced here in angiosperms, and the seeds are enclosed by fruits. That's why these plants are different from the gymnosperms, because in gymnosperms flowers are not present and seeds are naked, but here seeds are enclosed by fruits. Now they have stems, roots and leaves. Okay, all the well differentiated structures, stems, roots and leaves are present in the angiosperms. Now you see here, this is about the size of the angiosperms. Angiosperms can be microscopic in size like Wolffia. Here you see these are Wolffia. These are angiospermic plants. Okay, and you can see the size of it, right? And this is eucalyptus. So this is also an angiosperm and the size of eucalyptus is about 100 meters. Okay, so size can vary. It can be microscopic or it can be in meters. Now angiosperms are divided into two classes, and those are dicotyledons and monocotyledons. So the dicotyledons characterized by having two cotyledons in their seeds. You can see here this is a sunflower, and this is an example of one of the dicotyledon angiosperm. And you can see here seed, the dicotyledon seed, these are two cotyledons. So when two cotyledons are present in a seed, that is called dicotyledon seed, and the plant having that is called dicotyledonous plant. Second is monocotyledonous plant, and monocotyledonous plant have only one cotyledon, and example is wheat plant. Okay, here you can see the diagram of monocotyledonous seed. So the plants bearing monocotyledonous seeds are called monocotyledons. So like wheat is an example. Now let's talk about the reproduction in angiosperms. The male sex organs in a flower is the stamen. Okay, so here male sex organs of the angiosperm is called stamen. And one thing, all the male and female sex organ, both sex organs are present within the flower. So flower is the reproductive part or reproductive organ in the angiosperms. So within the flower, male sex organ is present, and that is called stamen. This stamen consists of a slender filament with an anther at the tip, and the anthers following meiosis produce pollen grains. You can see here this complete structure is called stamen. And what is the stamen? This is having a stalk-like structure filament on the tip of which this anther is present. Okay, and within this anther meiosis division occur, means inside the cells of the anther meiosis division occur, due to which pollen grains are produced. You can see here inside this is cross section of a anther. Okay, and here inside it these pollen grains are produced by meiosis division. Now the female sex organ in a flower is the pistil or the carpel. So what is the name for female sex organ? That is pistil or carpel. And this carpel or pistil consists of an ovary enclosing one to many ovules. So you can see here this is the complete pistil or carpel structure, and here what are the parts? Stigma, style and ovary. So ovary part of the female sex organ, or you can say of the carpel, is having ovules. Okay, and these ovules number can vary. These can be means one ovule can be present inside the ovary, or number can be many. Okay, so here you can see these many ovules are present inside a ovary. Now within ovules, okay, the ovules, the structures which are present inside the ovary, inside these ovules highly reduced female gametophytes are present. Highly reduced means small structure made up of less number of cells. Okay, so within the ovule, female gametophytes are present, and these female gametophytes are called embryo sac. Okay, the embryo sac formation is preceded by meiosis. You see here this complete structure. This is ovule, and where this ovule is present, this is present inside the ovary. With the help of this structure, this ovule is attached with the ovary part. Okay, now inside the ovule, okay, within the ovule, a structure female gametophyte. So this is the structure female gametophyte which is present inside this ovule. Okay, the complete structure is not in your syllabus. I'm just you just need to see this diagram for the embryo sac, means how the embryo sac is present inside the ovule. Okay, so just see this complete structure is ovule, and this embryo sac is present inside the ovule. And what is this embryo sac? This is female gametophyte, right? And this embryo sac formation is preceded by meiosis. So how this embryo sac has been formed here? This has been formed by meiosis division here. Okay, this complete ovule structure is diploid. Then in few cells meiosis division occur. Okay, and that meiosis division forms the embryo sac. So embryo sac is haploid structure here because it has been formed by the meiosis division, right? Now each embryo sac has a 3-celled egg. Now here you see the diagram of this embryo sac, okay, which is present inside the ovule. This embryo sac can be called female gametophyte as well. Okay, so see the diagram of the embryo sac or female gametophyte. What is present inside it? First of all, see here these 3 antipodals, 1, 2, 3. Okay, these 3 cells are present. These are called antipodals. So you can say inside the female gametophyte or the embryo sac 3 antipodals are present. Now in the center these 2 polar nuclei, okay, in the center these 2 polar nuclei are present, and on the another side here 1 egg cell, and on both side of the egg cell these 2 synergids, okay, this one and this one, which are on the 2 sides of the egg. So these 2 are synergids. So you can say 2 synergids, 1 egg cell, 2 polar nuclei, and 3 antipodals. All these are present inside the embryo sac. Now pollen grain, where the pollen grain have been formed? Inside the anther. Okay, now pollen grains after dispersal, means when the anther will get mature, pollen grains will be dispersed. Okay, pollen grains will come out of the anther. Okay, and after the dispersal from the anthers, these are carried by the wind or various other agencies. You might have studied about the pollination. What happened? The dispersed pollen grains are carried by different pollinating agencies. Okay, by different pollinators. These can be pollinators can be insects, these can be birds, some other animals, or water pollinated flower can be there. Okay, so these are carried by wind, water, or various other agencies to the stigma of a pistil. Okay, pistil means female part of the flower. So these are carried to the stigma of a pistil, and this is termed as pollination. So here you can see one of the insect, okay, carrying how this insect is carrying the pollen grain to the stigma of a flower, right? So pollination occur. After that, the pollen tube enter the embryo sac. Now what happen when pollen grain will reach to the stigma? Okay, means the female part of the flower. Then what will happen? Pollen tube will arise from the pollen grain. Okay, now this pollen tube will start growing and will enter in the embryo sac. Right after the growth of the pollen tube, it will enter in the embryo sac. Now inside the embryo sac, 2 male gametes are discharged because these male gametes are present inside the pollen grain. Okay, and when the pollen tube is developed from the pollen grain, these male gametes will come in the pollen tube, and these pollen tubes will reach to the embryo sac. Okay, so these male gametes will be discharged there inside the embryo sac, and you know inside the embryo sac egg cell is present. Okay, you have seen in the diagram in the previous slide, inside the embryo sac egg cell is present. So one of these male gametes fuses with the egg cell to form a zygote, and that process is called syngamy. Okay, and the other male gamete, because two male gametes are present here, so the other male gamete fuses with the diploid secondary nucleus. Diploid secondary nucleus, that is the polar nuclei that is present in the center of the embryo sac. Okay, so the other male gamete fuses with the polar nuclei, simply you can say here, to produce the triploid primary endosperm nucleus. So here you can see word triploid is here. Okay, because both the polar nuclei which are present in the center of the embryo sac are haploid structure. Okay, so two haploid and one haploid is male gamete. Okay, so three haploid structures are fusing here. That's why the structure that will be formed after the fusion of these three will be triploid structure, right? So this is called triple fusion also. So here the triploid primary endosperm nucleus, primary endosperm nucleus, that is also called PEN. Okay, so it will be formed after the triple fusion, and here this complete process is called double fertilization, because two times fertilization is occurring here. Once a male gamete is fusing with the egg cell, and once another male gamete is fusing with the polar nuclei. So two times fertilization is occurring, that's why it is called double fertilization. So here after this double fertilization we have two products, one zygote and another is primary endosperm nucleus. Now what happened, the zygote that is we got after the fertilization, that develops into an embryo. Okay, and the PEN, that is primary endosperm nucleus, develops into endosperm. And what is this endosperm here? This endosperm provides nourishment to the developing embryo. Okay, zygote is developing to form the embryo, and for this development this zygote needs some nourishment, right? Everything need nourishment for the development, so zygote needs some nourishment for the development, right? So from where that nourishment is coming? That is coming from the endosperm. So this is the significance of the formation of the endosperm here, that it provides nourishment to the developing embryo. Now the synergids and antipodal cells degenerate after fertilization. Okay, where the synergids and antipodal cells? Inside the embryo sac we are talking about. So inside the embryo sacs, the synergids and the antipodal cells which were present will degenerate will degenerate after fertilization. During these events ovules develop into seed, right? So after fertilization ovules will develop into seeds and the ovaries develop into fruit, right? Now you can see here, you will better understand about the double fertilization process and the embryo development. See here, this is pollen tube. Okay, pollen tube entering inside the embryo sac. After the pollen grain has reached to the stigma, so pollen tube arises and that enter inside the embryo sac. So see, this is pollen tube, this is entering inside this embryo sac. Okay, now this pollen tube is discharging its content, means what are the contents? The two male gametes are present here. So these red color structure here, these are two male gametes. Okay, now one of the male gamete fuses with the egg cell. So see here, this one male gamete is fusing with this egg cell and another male gamete is fusing with this polar nuclei, right? So what will be formed here? By the fusion of these two, means egg cell and this male gamete, their zygote has been formed, you can see. And by fusion of these polar nuclei and this male gamete, what is formed? Primary endosperm nucleus. So you can see here primary endosperm nucleus. And why this 3N is written here? Because this is triploid. Okay, so for triploid 3N we write, for the diploid we write 2N, for haploid we write 1N. Like 1N is written here for the polar nuclei because these two are haploid. Okay, then one more haploid structure, that is male gamete when fuses with this, the triploid structure, that is primary endosperm nucleus, is formed here, right? After that this zygote developed to form the embryo. Here you can see this zygote has started developing. Okay, and then embryo formation occur here. Okay, and this primary endosperm nucleus has been formed endosperm. Here you can see all these structure, all these nuclei have been formed. Okay, so this complete structure is endosperm now. and this endosperm then provides nourishment for this developing embryo. Now let's take a look of complete life cycle of angiosperms. See, this is a diagram for the life cycle of angiosperms, and this is given in your NCERT book as well. So let's start from here. This is an angiospermic plant having all the well differentiated structures like root, stem and leaves. Okay, and here you can see these flowers also. That's why this is a flowering plant or angiospermic plant. And this is called sporophytic body of the plant, because in angiosperms and the gymnosperms, sporophyte is the dominant phase. So this is all these structures, stem, roots and leaves are diploid, and this type of plant body is called sporophytic plant body. So this is a sporophyte. Okay, now inside these flowers, male and female sex organs are present, right? So see here, this male sex organ, that is called stamen, is present inside the flower, and this is female sex organ, that is called carpel or pistil, is present here. Okay, you already know about the parts. I have told you in the previous slides. This anther and filament in the male sex organ, and the stigma, style and ovary. Okay, you need to make these diagrams here. You need to make all these diagrams for this life cycle. Okay, I told you that for other life cycles you don't need to make the diagrams, but for the life cycle of these angiosperms you need to make all these diagrams. So here stamen diagram you will make, and then here the pistil diagram. Okay, now see inside the anther what is present? Microsporangium. Inside the anther microsporangium is present, and inside the microsporangium these microspores are produced. Okay, so this is very simple. I think inside the anther microsporangium, right? It is just like the in the gymnosperms. Okay, in the gymnosperms also inside the male sex organ microsporangium was present, and inside that microspores are produced. So these are similar things. Okay, so microspores are produced here. Then pollen grain. Okay, these microspores develop to form the pollen grain, and this pollen grain structure, this is called gametophytic phase, gametophytic generation. Okay, and this is N. N means haploid, and this is called gametophytic generation. These microspores and pollen grains both come under the gametophytic generation, because here these microspores have been formed from the meiosis division. Okay, and these are haploid in structure. That's why we are calling it gametophytic generation, right? Now what happened? These pollen grains when landed on the stigma of the female flower, then this pollen tube arises. Here you can see this pollen grain, and this is pollen tube developing from the pollen grain. Now whatever is inside the pollen grain, here you can see these two male gametes are present inside the pollen grain. Okay, you need to make this diagram of pollen grain as well, showing the male gametes present inside it. Okay, so these male gametes will move to the pollen tube. Okay, this is the pollen tube. These male gametes have been moved here. Now this pollen tube enters inside the embryo sac. Okay, now see from where this embryo sac has come. Here you have seen this female sex organ of the flower. Inside this female sex organ, inside this ovary part, ovule is present, right? And inside that ovule, this megaspore mother cell is present. Okay, that megaspore mother cell is present inside the ovule structure. Okay, and that megaspore mother cell inside the ovule makes this embryo sac. So this embryo sac is present here. Then pollen tube is entering here inside the embryo sac. You can see here all the antipodal cells, synergids, egg cell and this polar nuclei. Okay, so this is embryo sac structure, and here this pollen tube is entering inside the embryo sac. Then by the fusion of these male gametes, double fertilization occurs here. This zygote has been formed here, right? So after this entering of pollen tube, after the fertilization, zygote has been formed here. Then this zygote developing to form the embryo. So this embryo has been formed here. This heart-shaped structure you can see here. This is embryo. Okay, and seed will be formed here. Zygote is forming inside this embryo is forming inside the ovule. Okay, and that ovule converts into seed. When seed is grown, embryo comes out to form a sporophytic plant body. Okay, so from the embryo this plant generates, right? So this is complete life cycle of the angiosperms. Next topic is significance of angiosperms to human, means how the angiosperms are beneficial to us. So first is angiosperms serve as major source of food. You know, many angiosperms provide us food. So this food can be provided us directly or indirectly. Indirectly means like some herbivorous animals eat the angiosperm plants and then those are eaten by human. Okay, so directly or indirectly angiosperms serve as the major source of food for us. Second thing, they are primary source of consumer goods, okay, such as building material, textile fibers for making the clothes, spices that we use in our kitchen, and also herbs like mint. Okay, these are also the dried or the fresh forms of the leaves which we use in the kitchen. Okay, and also the pharmaceuticals means the medicines. So there are unlimited benefits of the plants, you know. Okay, and unlimited benefits of the angiosperms which we gain from the angiosperm. So these are some major benefits which we get from the angiospermic plants. Now based on today's topics, your homework is NCERT question number 2, 4, 6 and 4th part of 9th question and 10th question. Now let's discuss the homework solutions of previous lecture. And NCERT question number 3 I gave as homework. Question is, name 3 groups of plants that bear archegonia. So I hope you remember what is archegonia. Just recall it in your mind. What is archegonia? So these are the names of the plants: bryophytes, pteridophytes and gymnosperms. These are 3 groups of plants which bear archegonia. Next part of the question is, briefly describe the life cycle of any one of them. So every day we are discussing the life cycle of any one group of the plant. Okay, so you can just see in previous lectures about the life cycle. Just revise that, and if you have any doubt you can ask. Next is NCERT question number 5, and the question is, what is importance of gymnosperms? A part of the same question we have already done in the previous lecture, and the question was, what is the importance of algae? And here we will do about the importance of gymnosperms. So first importance is, gymnosperm plants are used as ornamentals in gardens. Means these are used for the decoration purpose in gardens, right? Second thing, their fibers are used in preparation of paper pulp. So the fibers obtained from the gymnosperms is used for the formation of paper pulp. Third importance is turpentine, that is a type of oil that is used for many diseases as a medicine, and also the resins are obtained from the gymnosperms. Third importance is, useful oils are extracted from the gymnosperms. So many useful oils we obtain from the gymnosperms. Then fourth importance is, gymnosperm seeds are used as food products like bakery items. Okay, gymnosperms seeds are used. The seeds are edible seeds. Many varieties of pinus have edible seeds. So seeds of gymnosperms are edible, which are used as food. Occasionally used to create silk and other textiles also. So sometimes silk has also been made from the gymnosperms. After that, NCERT question number 7, what is heterospory, and briefly comment on its significance. Give 2 examples also. So the answer is, heterospory is hetero means different, spory means spores. Okay, so it is a phenomena in which 2 kinds of spores are borne by the same plant. Okay, these spores differ in size. So heterospores means the different spores means which differ in size. Here, what is the significance of heterospory? Heterospory is considered as an important step in evolution, as it is a precursor to the seed habit. Okay, I told you about the precursor of seed habit. There was one more, the zygote development inside the female sex organ. Okay, and here heterospory is also considered as a precursor of the seed habit, because it's present in the pteridophytes, and then pteridophytes develop to form the gymnosperms. There also the different male and female cones are present, right? So heterospory is also considered as an important step for the evolution, and it is a precursor to the seed habit. After that, example of heterospory. So heterospory evolved first in pteridophytes such as Selaginella and Salvinia. So these examples of pteridophytes are given here. Now this is answer of NCERT question number 11, and the question you need to match these things, and these have been matched for you. Chlamydomonas is an algae, Cycas is a gymnosperm, Selaginella is a pteridophyte, and Sphagnum is a moss, that is a bryophyte. Okay. Now answer of question number 12 of NCERT, and the question is what write down the important characteristics of the gymnosperms, and the characteristics are as follows. So first is, in gymnosperms ovules are not enclosed by the ovary, means naked ovules are present, right? Naked seeds are present, you can see. They remain exposed before and after the fertilization. So this is first thing about the gymnosperms. So we can say seeds are naked. Okay, both things are related. Like when the ovules are not enclosed by the ovary, seeds will be naked. Okay, so two separate points are made. Ovules are not enclosed by the ovary, and that's why seeds are naked. After that, gymnosperms include medium-sized trees or tall trees and shrubs. Okay, so these three categories are found here. Next is, stems are branched or unbranched. The stems can be branched or unbranched. I gave you examples also in the lecture of the gymnosperms. Then leaves can be simple or compound leaves. Then their plant body is distinguished into root, stem and leaves, and is a sporophyte, means diploid body. Then they produce two kinds of spores. Hence they are called as heterosporous. Okay, two kinds of spores are formed here. Different kinds of spores means heterosporous. Then fertilization takes place in absence of external water by siphonogamy. Siphonogamy means where the pollen tube arrives from the pollen grain and that reaches to the female sex organ. Okay, and you have seen in the life cycle of the gymnosperms that a pollen tube that arrives from the pollen grain reaches to the archegonia mouth, right? So that process is called siphonogamy. So we can say that fertilization takes place in the absence of external water. External water means that is required for the fertilization of bryophytes and pteridophytes as a carrying agency for the gametes, right? But here there is no need such external agency for carrying the gametes, because siphonogamy is occurring here.